Sausage.
Hello, 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 and welcome to Attack the Backlog, the podcast where I, Mark Kuznez, that's me, tries to make a dent in their backlog one game at a time. This episode is all about Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order Part 2 of this two-part series because I have beaten the game, so there will not be a third episode. Overall, I liked it. I had a good time with Fallen Order. I do think it kind of weighs things, not negatively. The wording I'm looking for is escaping me, like the Force escapes. I'm not that versed in Star Wars lore and all that jazz to make any kind of jokes that make sense, and fellow Star Wars people will be like, "Oh yeah, I get that," and then the other people like me will be like, "What? Huh? I don't get it." We're already off to a great start, but it felt like the last 3-4 hours was just giving me all of this stuff that was interesting me, but I knew the game was coming to a close, so it got me excited for the sequel, but also made me a little bummed that all this cool stuff was happening near the end. For instance, I kept asking myself, am I ever going to get to change my lightsaber color? At the beginning, you have 3 to choose from: red, blue, and orange, something like that. And I kept saying and wondering, when am I going to get that purple? Can I get a purple? I want a purple lightsaber. I wouldn't mind some other colors too, but I really want that purple. Can I get that purple? And eventually, you have to fix your lightsaber because I forget the context exactly, but you got into some fight. It might have been with the other second sister, but I don't think she's the second sister. I think the second sister is just the second sister, and then there's maybe the 10th sister. I think they're just this number sister, and Trilla is the one and only second sister. But I think maybe during that fight, you squeezed her. There was a memory with your, what do you call the superior? Because a leader Jedi, they call their little ones Padawans, or is that just what all the... I don't know Star Wars, all right? Sue me. But your master, is that what you call him then? Your Jedi. This is my Jedi master. I didn't mean to do that in a voice like I was being dismissive of it, because I enjoy Star Wars to an extent. But I think when you were maybe having a vision of the past, you squeezed your lightsaber so hard, you did something to fuck it up, and you had to fix it. And then big-eyed Deborah Wilson was like, "Hey, go here, get a new crystal," and then you can get a new crystal and change the color of your lightsaber finally. And I got so excited, and then the game is pretty much over. You also get a double jump very late in the game, which I wasn't expecting at all. And it makes me wonder how the second game, Survivor, is handled in terms of your abilities. Do you forget how to use all your Force stuff again? Or do you have all that and there are new ways in which you unlock new areas? Or is it a completely different type of game structurally? I'm very curious about that, because I would be very annoyed if I had to start fresh in that game and relearn how to force pull and force push, double jump, etc. If I go into that game with all of these abilities already there, I think I might like Survivor more. We'll see. But I like the game overall. I think it, again, near the end, starts making the story more interesting with new characters. I was very interested in the Night Sister, I forget her name, who joins your crew. But like what I've already been saying, they give you all this stuff very late in the game where you're not able to see any of it develop that much. And speaking of the crew, I wish the game was more Mass Effect in how you interact with your crew and being able to have real conversations with them, even if they're the same conversations you get to have with them here and there. If they were just portrayed in a more cinematic way, I would have appreciated that, because there are some instances where you can talk to them and they will actually give you some backstory, something of their character, and then there are a lot of times where they're basically constantly pushing you away. That's not what I want to say, but they're basically just saying, not right now. Maybe later. And you're just thinking to yourself, why not? Why not right now? Why not? But I wish it was a little bit more Mass Effect-y in just having these conversations that are handled in a more cinematic way, but also maybe giving each crew member some kind of side mission that you can go on to learn more about them. They don't have to go on the mission with you, but just have them ask you to do something on a planet that you've already visited that could make you learn more about that planet and discover a new area, but also learn more about your crew members, because I would like to learn more about them, especially since the more I played of the game, the more Cal became this white bread, boring, plain nothing character who I didn't really have any feelings towards one way or the other. I was very indifferent towards him, leaning towards him being kind of boring and wondering why he was so special and why I've never heard of him before. And speaking of the Night Sisters, something I'm curious about canon-wise, because this game is clearly canon with the final cameo, which I'll get to. I'm not going to not get to that because we're clearly in spoiler territory. But the Night Sisters, have there always been zombies in the Star Wars universe? Is that a new thing? Were Night Sisters something that have been known about? Because I don't know what is canon or what's still canon in terms of books. Are any books still canon? Are there new books? I have no idea about the Star Wars extended universe. I've only seen the movies and watched most of the shows. So that is the extent of my knowledge. And some of the games, like KOTOR, which I adore. But the Night Sisters introduce zombies, essentially. They're not zombies eat your flesh and then you turn into one. I don't think that's how they work. But they are corpses brought back to life. Do we have other examples of that? Because that felt very weird in this universe, even though why should I feel weird about that when we've got all these aliens and whatnot? Why not have some group of people who are able to bring others back to life, reanimate corpses, and whatnot? We have the Force. We've got midichlorians, whatever those are. It's all make-believe, so who cares? Do whatever you want. But that had me curious. And then when the big cameo happens, I thought, what's his face? Forrest Whitaker was the only cameo, the familiar face we were going to get in this game. But when Darth Vader shows up at the very end, I was like, oh, I already knew this was canon. This is definitely canon, but it made me think about the ways Darth Vader shows up in everything sans the original trilogy. And I'm wondering if Star Wars fans would agree with this or have any context to this. It feels like, and ignoring the prequels as well, but it feels like when we see Darth Vader in something like Fallen Order or at the end of, was it Rogue One? He seems so unbelievably OP, so incredibly powerful that I don't understand how anyone could ever. How did he fucking fail at all? He just seems like a fucking unbelievably powerful being that I did not. Maybe I should rewatch. I've been thinking about rewatching the original trilogy, but it seems like he should just be able to destroy everyone without any kind of thought or barrier. It just is like, well, you're a monster. You're insane. What is this power? Then you have other nonsense that happens in later movies, the new trilogy, where suddenly Princess Leia's Superman and I forget his name, or Luke Skywalker. You don't need it. So Luke is just, I could project. I don't understand Star Wars, but it can be fun at times. But the story overall, I was interested in. It's unfortunate that the main character, the character you play, Cal, is a blank slate, nothing of a character that makes it feel like it would have probably been, though then you can't make it canon. So I guess I understand the reasoning behind making it a specific character. But it kind of feels like it would have been better off if it was just a created character of your own doing. But I enjoyed it. Gameplay wise, I took a little break in between the final session, and it does take a little bit of time to wipe off the rust, to brush off the dust after being away and get reacclimated to the parrying and all of that. But overall, I really liked playing it. It feels very good. I was so excited when I got that double jump. And I enjoyed later in the game when you start having to deal with bounty hunters in specific spots that add a bit of tension and high stakesness to them. But I still don't love the emphasis on parrying, and what I don't love it, or when I don't love it the most, is in fights against those who also use lightsabers. Specifically, the big bad final boss fight with the second sister, Trilla. I found that very, very frustrating. I considered dropping the difficulty, but I stuck it or kept it on Jedi Knight, the default difficulty. And I found that to be a real pain in the ass. I don't like fighting against those who use lightsabers because it seems inherent in the way Jedis and Sith, etc., anyone using a lightsaber fights. But when you're trying to parry someone, you have to wait until they're just about to attack. But with lightsaber battles, the people who use lightsabers are fucking doing all these stupid ass flourishes and fucking spinning the blade, spinning it all over the fucking place, not in a way or not with the intention of attacking, just like, hey, look how cool I am. And then they'll attack eventually. It's just fucking annoying. It looks cool, yes. But when you're actually trying to fight someone, you're like, are you fucking just twirling the lightsaber around? Or are you trying to attack me? I don't know. Will you just fucking stop playing around and fucking fight me, you son of a bitch? That's how I felt in that fight a lot. And then the game teaches you that with regular fights or regular attacks, you ideally want to parry them to break someone's defense and then allowing you to attack them. And then if they flash red, you want to dodge out of the way. But what I don't like about that system is that there are a handful of enemies with a handful of attacks that when they do them and flash red, you can't dodge out of the way of them because it's an area of effect attack. I may have talked about this in the last episode. And the only way to avoid those is to jump over them. I don't like those in these intense fights because I'm not thinking, that's the one where they flash red, but it's going to be a ground pound attack that sends this thing all over the place that I can't dodge out of the way of, and I have to jump over. Everything's happening so fast that can we not? And there were times in that fight, because I had to do that fight a few times, where she just spammed that stupid ass red attack over and over and over again at me. It drove me nuts. I hated that. But sans those handful of fights that can be a little frustrating, overall, the game was a decent challenge. Not too hard, not too easy, and I appreciated that. The thing this game does incredibly well, though, more than anything in terms of gameplay, are its set pieces. This game has some really, really, really nice set pieces. That is where it stands out. That is where they show off the most. There was one in the Wookiee village where you're sliding down this area, and at one point you have all these kind of lighted plants that are hanging from the ceiling, essentially, where you're sliding down, and it looks so good. It is a spectacle game in the best ways, and an overall good time. I wish it ran more smoothly, but overall performance was good enough. And yeah, I don't have that much more to say about it gameplay wise or any of that. I'm not sure if I will go back to 100% it. I don't feel like I want to do that, but I may at some point. And yeah, so that will do it for this here episode of Attack the Backlog. Once again, I am Mark Kuznez. Y'all can find me pretty much everywhere at PX Sausage. The site is not important just yet. I mean, it's important, but what is important is if you enjoy this here show or any of the stuff I do and what have you, you can support me and my nonsense over at patreon.com/PXS. There you can get access to a monthly Q&A, some fancy Discord roles, a private Discord channel, random drops here and there, and more depending on your tier. Or you could just support me to support me if that is your fancy. That is, again, patreon.com/PXS. In addition to the Patreon, you can find links to the site, the YouTube, the Discord, and so much more over at pxsausage.com. But that is it. That is all. As always, thank you for watching or listening. I hope you enjoyed this here episode, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. But for now, adios, arrivederci. Bye bye.
It's go time. Go daddy. It's go time. Go daddy. It's go time. Go daddy.